Alright, hi guys. Today we are going to be working to evaluate arguments. So we are evaluating arguments in informational texts that we read. So I'm going to be putting things in my interactive notebook, and as I talk about them, I'm going to try to show you on the camera. Now, if you will go to Teams, on the top where it has the tabs, if you look under Files, under week of April or March 30th, and then if you look under How to Evaluate an Argument, there is going to be pictures that I've uploaded that is literally what I'm looking at while I'm talking to you. So if you would like to listen to this video and look at the pictures and maybe even write them down like I am, that is going to be the best possible way that you can retain this information. So we're going to start with how to evaluate an argument. Arguments should be evaluated based on whether or not it is good. Is it a good argument? Not whether or not you agree. So a lot of times when students are thinking about argumentative topics, I tell them I don't want them to write about something like, are teens addicted to their phones? Because you aren't going to find a lot of evidence to support the opinion that students have. Students are going to say, I'm not addicted to my phone, I like being on my cell phone, I use my phone for a lot of things. They don't want to write an argument saying students use their phones too much. So they're not being able to see things clearly. Okay, so you have to be objective when you are evaluating an argument, which means you can't say, well, this is a bad argument because I disagree. You have to be able to look at different pieces of the argument and evaluate, does it have what it needs to have a good argument, whether or not I agree. So objective means that you don't have your bias, like, well, I like cell phones, so anything that's against students being on their cell phones all the time is wrong, because that's incorrect. And so it has to be something that you aren't putting your opinion in. You are just looking at it straightforward, black and white. Is this a good argument? Okay, so everything that I've just said so far is here. Okay, you can see arguments should be evaluated based on whether or not it is good, not whether or not you agree. Okay, it has to be objective, okay, without your bias or your opinion. Now the next thing is a little acronym to help you when you're trying to think about how do I evaluate something if I'm not looking at how I feel about the topic. Okay, so you are going to look at felt, the fabric of a good argument. Felt, F-E-L-T, felt the fabric of a good argument. So the first letter in felt is F. And F stands for fairness. Is it fair and balanced? So just like when we write our argumentative essays in class, and you have to acknowledge the opposing side, you have your opposing claim, you counter that opposing claim. So that creates that sense of balance. Like, yes, I acknowledge that this is another good argument against what I'm saying, but I'm also going to counter that and say why I'm still right. So does the piece that you're looking at have that sense of balance where it's acknowledging the opposing side? Okay? Is it too biased? Okay? Is there way too many opinions? Now, there is a difference between stating facts and stating opinions. So if someone says, I feel it should be this, I feel it should be that, in my belief, okay, that's all opinions. But if it says a study showed, or scientists have said, things like that, those are facts. Whether you like the fact or not, facts are things that are true. Also, is it too emotional? So if someone's writing about why pit bulls should be banned, and they had a family member that got, if a family member was attacked by a pit bull, then you're going to be writing from an emotional standpoint of how you feel because of something that you went through. And it's going to be very hard. It's not impossible, but it's going to be very hard to remain unbiased in writing this and only talking about the facts and not just talking about they're an evil, vicious creature, because that's not a fact. That's your opinion. So the E in felt, F is fairness, E is evidence. Is the evidence reliable and relevant? Okay, so reliable means, is it true? Is it a true statement, or is it opinion, or is it just made up? And relevant. Okay, we've discussed the word relevant. Is it on topic? So if we're talking about cell phone use, then, you know, pulling up a bunch of statistics about playing on the PlayStation 4 or Xbox isn't really super relevant. That's a separate thing. That's, you know, when you're home and you're connected to the wall. It's not, you know, you're walking across, you're jaywalking and you're walking into traffic because you're not paying attention on your phone. Is it relevant? Is it talking about what you're talking about? Then L is logical. So we have fairness, evidence, logical. So the word logical means, can you see the reasoning behind it? Is the conclusion a logical result of the evidence? So if we're talking about cell phone use and how teenagers are glued to their cell phones, and we use the evidence of how many people have been hurt walking into traffic because they weren't paying attention, or accidents of that nature, the logical reasoning would say kids aren't paying attention because they're glued to their phones, because their brains stop processing other things while they're doing this. And that would be a logical argument for cell phones. Saying students upload too many selfies and have too much of an online presence isn't super logical. Like, do they? Okay, probably. But is that a logical conclusion based on evidence? And that's something you have to evaluate yourself. And then the last one of felt, it's fairness, evidence, logical, and tone. T is tone. So is the tone appropriate? And what that means is, I said that correctly. How does it sound? How are you talking? Do you have a super emotional standpoint where talking about crying, talking about your heart's broken, or talking about hate or any type of emotion? No emotion should be mentioned in an argument. Or are they super sarcastic and making sarcastic comments? Because in an argument, it needs to be a formal writing, stating of the facts. You know, it needs to be fair, there needs to be evidence, it needs to be logical. So it needs to have that formal air where there are facts presented and discussed. It doesn't need to have a bunch of emotions or being sarcastic or telling jokes. It needs to be very clear. So if you look, felt, fairness, evidence, logic, and tone. Okay, and like I said, all of this is under the teams. And you can go there and you can look at it yourself. I even recommend that you make a page for this if you have a notebook. Kind of start your own little interactive notebook at home, because I'm going to try to be doing this from now on. And this is the first one, so I'm getting ready to start another one, but I'm going to make it another video for you.